Until he says go.
Press the button.
Until he says go.
This thing's still running? Oh, good. Okay, let her rip.
My grandfather was a first cousin of Oscar Wilde. Peter Wilde,
Yep.
his name was.
Pretend you're talking to me now.
My grandfather was Peter Wilde, and they were first cousins. And Oscar in the will from their uncle, Sir William Wilde, was my father.
Yeah.
Oscar's daddy. Okay, Sir William Wilde.
Yeah.
And the other uncle, on the other side, promised everything to Oscar. But Oscar had to do a few things. He had to, their uncle could see the writing on the wall. You have to become a Catholic and live in Ireland. And Oscar didn't do those things. My grandfather did. They were Protestants. Your ancestors were Protestants.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How can I live with this?
I know. They were Protestant. He was a Protestant grandfather
Oh,
Wilde.
where's that bottle?
And that's how he got the money and lived in Ireland. That's where he got all those properties from.
Yeah. Well, how did your mom get it?
My mother was the youngest of the Wilde family, and she got 2 small houses in Ringsend. And my father wouldn't live in Ringsend. He had to live up at the Phoenix Park.
Yeah.
That's where he grew up with his granddaddy. His grandfather must have loved him an awful lot. He learned an awful lot from him. So my daddy wouldn't live anywhere else, only there. Walking distance to the Phoenix Park. So that's how my mother got her properties. And she had them for many, many years. Uncle Peter was...
But I thought Oscar Wilde had property that got passed on to...
He had his father's property, so William Wilde's property, but he didn't get his uncle's properties. The properties that my grandfather was supposed to go to Oscar, but Oscar didn't do what he was told in the will.
Oh, okay.
He didn't do what he was told. He was to become a Catholic and live in Ireland, and he didn't do those things. My grandfather did. Changed his religion, got the monies, got the properties.
Well, I thought he changed his name to R-O-C-H-E also.
That's the Roach family.
Yeah.
Well, you see, you have to remember the times they were living in.
Yeah.
It wasn't good to be related to the British Army or the British.
I can understand
the British
that.
Army, he was captain. I'm running a hospital in the Phoenix Park, buried outside the walls of the Phoenix Park. Remember the house you visit in Blackhurst Avenue? Across the road was a graveyard.
Yeah.
Where our great-grandfather is buried and his wife were buried in there. They had it nicely set up, didn't they, for themselves?
Yeah. Who was in the British Army?
Captain Edward Roach, my daddy's grandfather. My great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was Captain Edward Roach. And we ran the hospital in the Phoenix Park. And they kept that secret. You didn't have to be in the IRA, and your grandfather was a British
Brit.
Yeah. So how is your mom related to Oscar?
Her father was Peter Wilde, was a first cousin of Oscar.
So
she was a Wilde, there it says right there.
She's a second cousin then?
Nee Wilde. My mother, when she was buried there, it says Nee Wilde. See, when it came to burying them, they gave the right names. And all the tombstones, the right names.
So she was second cousin to Oscar?
First cousin, is that what you said? Did you say first cousin? Yeah.
Grandfather was first cousin, so I guess they were second cousins.
Yeah.
Oscar. But like it came to die and they put the right name. Even on the birth certificates they put the wrong name.
Well, because that's your ID, right? So
the right name.
Yeah.
When they died on their tombstone.
Not only they did, the Jewish people
but they
did the
lived
same
all their
thing.
life as pretending Catholics. They weren't Catholics, though.
Pseudo Catholics. They're running around, man.
That's
wow.
right. And we knew nothing but Protestant prayers. And Auntie May and Uncle Peter, they're only coming in into now. And I'm remembering these things.
Thinking.
Where I knew that stuff when I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
I knew. I would ask my Aunt Chris those questions. I would say, where did your daddy get all those properties from? So his boss was awful good to him. His boss had given property.
Yeah.
She would never. And if you were passing something with some store in Pierce Street. And big Wilde was across the top and gold bars. I thought it was a jewellery store as a child because everything was flat in the window.
Yeah.
It was a printing shop.
Oh.
All the Wilde family were printers.
Oh.
Now I know it was all stuff printing. A printing shop was.
Huh. Like newspapers or books?
Yes, and they made condolences and wedding things. And
pamphlets for the funerals.
For funerals and all
Interesting.
that. And
Probably for the
if
church.
I'd have looked down,
Prayer things for the church, you know?
if I'd have looked down and seen that,
Well, yeah, but
I was
what I'm saying is
right.
I know.
My Aunt Chris was
the government
very
kept money
secretive.
out of people they wouldn't normally
She
get
knew.
Yeah.
until
She knew that I was smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah.
When there'd be something about Oscar in the paper,
She'd
she'd always make that trot over there to Westmoreland Street.
But it's not
She'd never bring me to the door because there was a big sign on the door, like in brass, and his name was there where he was born.
Oh, that he was
But she'd
born.
always stand on the other side of the road, and I never knew what she was looking at. I didn't know nothing about Oscar Wilde at all. But she knew if she brought me to the door, I'd put two and two together.
Remember.
But she knew that I put two and two together. And she would never let you go into the library next door. Because she was afraid. Well, she said she was afraid I'd lose the book, but that's not what it was. She was afraid I'd come across something. They were very secretive. They never wanted to be related to the Wilde people, Oscar Wilde's family, because of the big
Yeah.
stuff.
Big stuff.
Well,
Bad
didn't
stuff.
a lot of ours drop the E at the end of their name? And
Yes. Because they didn't want to be, exactly.
The Roaches
How times have
changed
changed,
their
huh?
name,
I know.
and the
I can't
Wilde
wait.
family changed.
Everybody
their
wants to be related.
money.
I gotta drop it every chance I get. Free drinks, you know.
name. Yeah. No, that.
Get lots of attention at dinner
I
parties.
have other
Yeah.
things to show you. That's my mother's. Lovely memory of Bridget Roach. That's the Irish. R-O-A-C-H is the. You see, they changed it to Ace.
People are going, leaving their
R-O-A-C-H to be English.
Let's see now.
There were times you had to be careful in those days.
Kind of a couple of